This is the Business Owners IT Podcast with Anthony Garish and Ryan Carter, where tomorrow's technology meets today's conversations.
I am Tony Garish.
And I'm Ryan Carter, and this is the Business Owners IT Podcast.
A podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and solutions for business owners involving all things tech.
And today is control number 2 in our series about the CIS framework. What is control number 2? Well, a quick overview, which will be a link in the description for all of us. That overview, basically what is it? It's to actively manage all software on the network so that only authorized software is installed and can execute, and that unauthorized and unmanaged software is found and prevented from installation or execution. What does that mean, Tony?
Well, again, so last time I had written my own definition that I would use as a trusted advisor for our clients. So I'll read my definition of it, and then I'll try to go into it. So I would say that any software that is installed on any hardware assets, in the last episode we went through hardware assets, that can or could potentially be exploited and used to access company data electronically, no matter where it sits on the network, cloud, or through the internet. So as a trusted advisor, we, to the best we can, we want to know about every piece of software that's out there, and its versions. So that's what I would say software is. And then, we should maintain a list of approved software, and we should know the versions that are on the computers. And I need to reiterate that, malware is software. Let's just put it that way. Malware developers, ransomware, it's software. It is software that is written by adversaries to try to make money on ransomware. So we don't care about those versions. We want to prevent that. But, you want to know all the versions. In a good example, right, this will happen a lot, right? Well, let's just start with the operating system. So I have a list of software assets. The first one I have is operating systems. In today's world, operating systems are being deployed with feature updates, right? So, like Microsoft has, I think with Windows 10, right? They went to feature updates.
Yep.
But the feature updates expire, and the feature updates are similar to the iOS, right? Where I'm on a certain iOS version, but I'm getting updates on my cell phone as it goes. So as a company, we monitor those feature updates, and then we try to do feature updates for our customers. So why don't you talk a little bit about what feature updates are? Because a lot of people may not know because we're just doing it.
Yeah, so a feature update is almost a complete reinstall of that operating system. So I think for Microsoft, they do it twice a year, maybe once a year now, I can't remember. But, Windows 10, I'm still kind of on that. I think 22H2 was the last version of that. And it's basically a rewrite of the operating system. So instead of just dumping a bunch of security updates as time goes on into that same operating system, they slowly move out those feature updates and expire them and give you newer ones so that your computer is always new and as secure as possible for a Microsoft device.
Yeah, and it's kind of a roll-up, right, of also the patching that happens as well, right?
Yes.
So the new feature update has the patching. Well, many people just use their computer and they don't even realize there's a feature update, and they're not doing it. Well, we give out a hardware lifecycle report. I think it's monthly, sometimes quarterly to our customers if they want it. And inside there, we know what feature update they're on, and we also know if they need to be updated. And I think recently, didn't we do some stuff to be able to push out the feature updates automatically?
Yeah, so the patching, we've always done Windows security patching monthly. They come out, when Microsoft itself comes out the second Tuesday of every month, and we're shortly after that. We test and then push out the updates. We do have a schedule we use for that. And I think it was maybe 4, 5, 6 feature updates ago that Microsoft started allowing you to be able to push them through that same type of system to be able to do the feature updates. So now we just do it that way. So when your feature update comes out, it's just your computer will tell you to reboot, and you reboot, and you're now in the latest version, and it lets us know that you are, or it alerts us if there's an error, and then we call you and try to resolve that issue of getting you up to that feature update to keep you updated.
Cool. So operating system is just one type of software, right? So operating systems are, insurance companies, they frown upon old operating systems because they're vulnerable. So, but then other types of software assets are enterprise applications, productivity. So like your CRMs, your ERPs, enterprise resource planning software, the kind of your business management software, right? So we need to know what that software is and where it's installed and what version it's on, right? Especially if we want to do if you have 600 computers and management says, hey, we want to roll out the new version of, I don't know, give me an example of maybe
SolidWorks.
SolidWorks, right? There you go. So, but some guys have to stay on the old version of SolidWorks because of the project they're working on. They don't want to update, right? So we could have multiple versions of SolidWorks, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then all of a sudden, oh, wait, SolidWorks has a vulnerability, right? So, they have a vulnerability. Do we have any of that version of the software, SolidWorks? And I'm not saying they have vulnerabilities, but do we have any of those versions installed? So knowing the version of the software as well as the software is installed is very important.
Very important.
Productivity software, right? So, like Office Suite, your Teams, all those things that you use. Maybe, there's all kinds of them, right? So, Adobe Acrobat, there's so many tools out there that people are using. Visio, Excel, these things, right? You need to know where those are installed and what the versions are. And then you get into your security tools, the same thing with antivirus, right? We have a certain set of tools that we put on people's computers, right? We need to know what version, right? You need to know what version of the software you have to make sure that it's being updated. And you need to know that it's installed on everybody's computer. You need to know when it's not installed on everybody's computer. And sometimes that's a challenge, right? Something's not working and you got 600 computers or 500 computers or 400, it doesn't matter, even 5 computers. I've seen where, software is missing from it, but it looks like it's on there, but it's not working, right? So you need to know that as well. Then you got your development tools. If you're software developers, right, you need to know the versions of those tools. And then you also get into your virtualizations where it's physically hardware, but there's software, like your VMwares have different versions and things like that. So why is it important, why is it important to know all the software and all the versions and stuff? Because when a vulnerability happens, when you are attacked, right, or when a new a potential vulnerability or is identified on your network, you want to be able to search that network, know where that software is installed, and do what's necessary to patch it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the software that you use every day. You need to have the ability to know what software is allowed and what software is not.
Yeah, and like on our end, we want to know what the antivirus is that's allowed, because then if we see maybe a different version of an antivirus like McAfee on there, then we can reference and be like, that's not supposed to be there, and take it off.
Yeah. Another good example is we don't like Dropbox and we don't like remote management software, right? So, we tried to, sometimes it has to be there, right? Sometimes they are dropped by clients and it has to be there, right? But Dropbox is also a way to steal data. Easy. Google Drive, the same thing. If they're not a Google shop, right, they shouldn't have Google Drive, right? Because easy way to steal data. Same thing with remote access software. If they're not a TeamViewer shop, they shouldn't have TeamViewer.
Yes.
Right. So having it planned out, then you guys as your IT department, whether it's us or you're using somebody, they should know, hey, wait, why does this guy have TeamViewer? We need to call this guy up. They should have ways to realize that and know that new software, or potentially just block all software. And that's what we do. We use a company called ThreatLocker, application whitelisting, allow everything that belongs and block everything else.
Check out episode 9.
Yeah, check out. There you go. Yeah, that'll be episode 9. But another good example is also to know all the software you have and I have this in engineering companies a lot, is they say, hey, we want to update everybody to the latest version of AutoCAD or the latest version of Civil 3D. We do a lot with engineering companies. Well, when we have that list, we can go out there and see every computer that has it, right? And then we can make sure that every computer that has it gets updated, and we can have a checklist and go off of it. Another good example that I can think of is Zip 7, right? Zip 7, I think
7-zip.
7-zip. Okay, I got it wrong. Whatever.
No worries.
That's a software that's developed in Russia, right? That would be a software package, right? there's a good software package, right? That's a good software package that's out there that a lot of people use. It's a great product, but it could also be a line of business software that's being used, could be turned and weaponized because it has very strong encryption.
Yes.
So you could actually take and write PowerScript or commands to use Zip7 or 7-zip or whatever it is to encrypt files.
Yep.
Okay. So you're blocking all the ransomware, but hey, you got this great tool that you allow everybody to use. And oh, by the way, you're not blocking commands, right? So you allow them to write a PowerScript or something that can use the tool to do it. So, it's a great tool. We've used it before, but we've also realized that, hey, this can be weaponized.
So quick anecdote going back to the Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to use them as an example here. I was actually listening to another podcast, which I can name. I'm not sure if we can or can't do that in these kind of things, but it's called, I think it's Darknet Diaries. And the gentleman was talking with someone else. And one of the things that they were doing with Dropbox is they would get the user's password and get in and then share the folder with themselves on a different email address, and then just drop off and not use that guy's stuff anymore. But they always had that backdoor access into it, because the question becomes, especially for you business owners that use something like Dropbox or Google Drive, if you're not using as Google all the way for your business, is that how often do you check your shares, who you shared it with? Do you actually go back to that and say, hey, who have I shared this with recently?
Yep.
And then you see John Smith in there and it's like, who's John Smith? There's ways of doing that.
Yep.
And another thing too that we have not brought up for another point is that, CIS is not a one and done type deal. This is a living and breathing thing. And go back to episode 1, making sure that you guys have all of your, your assets in there and you're always changing them. Same with software, is that you're going to have to upgrade your operating systems. You're going to have to upgrade your assets. And in doing that, there's a cost involved with that. And that's why we need to know that it's a living and breathing thing. You're not going to dump all of this cost right away. It's something that you can put into a plan of action and milestones to do later. But you just always obviously have to inventory what you have for your assets, and then hopefully slowly roll off those old operating systems and old assets, just those kind of deals.
Yeah, and that comes into another thing. A lot of times, we may not have a lot of tickets with a customer, right? But we're doing all this stuff behind the scenes to eliminate tickets, to eliminate problems. So a lot of times customers don't see the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, where we are keeping their feature updates updated. We are keeping their software updated. We are pushing out the Windows updates. We are restarting their computers at night. We are doing all these things. They don't see it. And it's important to know that, software needs to be updated, and software needs to be kept updated. Your iOS software needs to be updated. Your Androids need to be updated. Everything should be up. Keep your software updated. Even if you don't use an IT firm, keep them updated, because there's vulnerabilities.
Always.
That's the bottom line.
Always. And that's why we don't just patch Windows, we patch your other software, your Chrome, your Firefox, your Edge, your Java, all of that also gets, updated in the background from us too. Yep. So, that's going to get us close to the end of talking about inventory and control of software assets. And in our next episode of this series, we're going to talk about data protection.
Yep. And I'd just like to reiterate that John, the voice of Unique Computing Solutions, will put a link into the presentation for the CIS number 2 framework. So you guys can read more about it and not just have our version of what it is. And with that, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Business Owners IT podcast. And we hope to see you in the next episode, where we're going to tackle another control.
See you in number 3.
Unique Computing Solutions. Your IT challenges solved.